Okay, so we are live on YouTube also. But for those of you who are new here, welcome. Who are not new here, welcome back. My name is Brenna. I'm a 1-3 sacral manifesting generator, Pisces sun, teaching you how to incorporate all these transits and complicated star stuff in real time. If you guys have any questions, curiosities that you want to talk about or anything at the beginning, I always say I'm here to talk with you guys, not at you guys. But if you want me to bring up your chart and start to look at your chart specifically for anything you're trying to unmuck, there's a link in my bio. It's $15 USD for 10 minutes and you get a recording. So we have that available to you guys here. I think I'm coming out of my heard it mode, so it'll be interesting. Absolutely. It's been so nice, like, to feel, you know, as I've ended my Saturn return and coming out into the world again, like just kind of feeling that, especially after Neptune moved out of Pisces into Aries, like I feel like with my Saturnianness, I have always had a certain level of like discipline in that way, but it's always cool to look at like kind of like try to, as objectively as possible that we can do, analyze ourselves and see like how these transits affect us, especially as practitioners or people who are using like these transits in our day-to-day and helping other people decode theirs too. And I'm always like getting, you know, like through people that, hello YouTube, for the people that I know, like, and trust and pay and consent to reading my chart specifically, I'll, yeah, right, it is. I love it. It's been helpful because it's like that. People always ask me like, you know, how did you become a human design reader and you know, where did you find all of your information? And I'm like, it's 50% like getting the like OG source text, but like if you really want to be good, you have to start to read for as many people as possible in your life that are willing to give you their birth date, time, and location. I always say that for human design. I studied human design for 4.5, 5 years before I even charged somebody, you know, and was like, okay, if I'm going to put my neck out for something like this and like stand for it, like I want to make sure that I know what I'm talking about, hi T, and that I have examples in real time to be able to reflect that. So yeah, it's been kind of crazy. But hi Doreen, how are you? Happy Valentine's Day. I have the chart up for on YouTube here for the transits of the day. So if we were to personify, if someone was born at 1:30 Eastern Standard Time in New York City, this is what we would kind of have a snapshot at. The main kind of channels that we have defined right now, because of our Uranus, where our Uranus is in Gemini, and also our North and South Node are the channel of community. So that's why like the company you keep is also really important right now. Like who are you around, and like does it feel good to be around people? Also online, like there's a lot of people that rage watch other people, and we see the mental effects of that. You know, I even some of the people that I've had, and a lot of like what a lot of these transits are going to be focusing on is having people watch out for instant gratification and paying attention to that too. A manifestor, hello, hello. If you guys can't see the chat, just so you know, I'm dual streaming on TikTok at the same time. So Sin, on my right hand side, I'm also reading the comments from TikTok for those of you, Doreen, and those folks who are can't see what I'm looking at. But yeah, 3-5 emotional manifestor, welcome, welcome. Hi Gar, happy Valentine's Day. Thank you, likewise, likewise. I hope you're enjoying it. I have a little transit chart up for the day. Chelsea said, yeah, about to enter my 11th house perfection year, so tracks. Absolutely. Yes. Like who is like, and what I love about like 11th house stuff, especially 11th house perfection years, is like it makes you realize that not one person is meant to fulfill every one of the roles of your needs, right? And that there are people that you can kind of like take the pressure, not only off of yourself but off of other people. Conwal, if you go to the link in my bio, it should be good to go. It may be, so it's 2:41 Eastern Standard Time. I have it where since it's already 2:41, it'll go away, so you get a full 10 minutes. So if you book for what would be 1:50 Eastern, it should be good to go. I have the little notification up, and give it a second after you hit book to process, just so I make sure it gets sent through, or else it'll attempt to charge your card, but it won't actually process. And then I do send you a copy of the recording that you'll see with your chart on screen simultaneously. But yeah, so an 11th house perfection year will also teach you that like there's different bits and pieces of people within community that, you know, you may not as long as your values are the same and the respect is there, you may not have the same beliefs or the same mindset for relationship as somebody in your community. But as long as like what they need to do for you in a career sense works for a symbiotic relationship for the fraction of the time that you're together, that's what matters more. So being able to pay attention to that. Okay, sorry. So Kanwal, that will happen if it doesn't process. It'll basically tell you it's a pending charge. So if it doesn't process fully, or if you were booking and it canceled out, it was just kind of like the exact time that you were trying to book for. It was maybe too close to the time, but I didn't actually get the funds or the booking because I get a notification when it goes through. So like after the weekend, it should go away, but it didn't actually process the charge. It's like when you go to the store and it says that it's pending, it doesn't actually process right away. So you can try again if you want to, but right now it's in purgatory where like I can't refund you any money because I didn't actually get any money. So it'll go away in like should be 3 business days, which usually for me, my processor, by Monday it should go. So you can either try again to actually book, or if you want to call it a wash, it's up to you, but I'll give you that discernment to decide what you want to do. Yeah, I learned last year not to put all my eggs in one friend basket. Yes, exactly. And I find that like again with Aquarius placements too, like I used to be like, oh, I don't have any friends, but it's not true. I don't have friends in the eyes of like what society or social media tells us our friend group is supposed to look like, because all my friends are in different places and spaces. You know, I have friends that are in Arizona. I have friends that are in, you know, New York City, that are living in Manhattan from college. Like there's people from all over the world that I'm friends with, and I may not have one friend group that I'll do like a Valentine's Day with or something like that. But I realize that like, why am I judging myself for my community and how my community looks when it just looks different? And I think that's when people don't realize that as we get older and as we have more adult responsibilities, like there are some kind of like 2 generalized camps that I'll say that I see most often. You know, camp A, that are the people that are really looking to fulfill a role that they maybe didn't get to fulfill in their childhood. You know, what they thought friend groups were supposed to be like because of social media, because of you know, like what was projected of how friendship is supposed to look like. And camp B, which is what I feel myself and yourself falls into, Chelsea, of like connecting with people that also have lives and real life responsibilities going on, and they're not, you know, rushing to fulfill, you know, what they wanted to have, or are more understanding of the way that the real world works, where it's like, you know, I find it too, like as I've gotten older, like, and being in friendships with people who are married, you know, you can tell really quickly how happy or successful somebody's marriage is as an adult, as a now also married person, and like how much time that friend will want to talk to you as a married person. And it's like, maybe there's some conversations we should also be having with our partner. And that's another kind of perspective that I can give on married life and Valentine's Day, and people marrying people just because they want a partner, not because they actually find a friendship in their marriage. And that also has its effects on relationships outside of romantic ones. Yeah, my sister said, you need more local friends. And I go, no, I love a nationwide group. Exactly. I feel that. Nationwide is on your side. No, I feel that. Yeah, like one of my closest friends is down in North Carolina, and, you know, which is like a few states away. And I'll see him once like a quarter, you know, it's like a corporate meeting, so to speak. But, you know, we talk and text, and thankfully we have texting, but it's like, I just think that a lot of what the Saturn and Aries transits are going to be doing too is making people realize that, like, okay, who are the people that you have around you that are super needy versus who are the people that actually you want to spend time with, that you actually enjoy associating with in some capacity. So it'll be interesting to see what that kind of looks like as it manifests. I always say with astrology, and where people tend to get all bent out of shape and are like, that's of the devil, is like when they believe that like all astrologers or human design readers like myself are trying to predict the future. But it's like, okay, based on history, you know, or based on kind of like transits or things that we've tracked historically, This is usually the expression of this 50% of the time, but the other 50% does still account for free will and what other humans are going to do with it. I always say the example is like, I could tell somebody that they're going to be the best musician in the entire world, but if they never pick up an instrument and start playing, then I guess we'll never know. In the words of Kanye, I guess we'll never know, but yeah, I'm curious to see, but I can feel those like winds of change, as we all can, and I think all of us collectively are kind of waiting for almost like this variation of waiting for the other shoe to drop. But I think that I err on the side of cautious optimism rather than kind of only succumbing to cynicism myself. So that's I'm being hope motivated in human design. But I wrote out the outline today. I'll film it after we get off here. I'll probably be on for another hour or so. But basically after we get off, I'm filming the video for the week ahead, and then I'll send out that newsletter tomorrow. I will not be on next Saturday because I have an event down in Philadelphia that I'll be at, so I won't be on for our usual time here because I will be there. It would be cool. Maybe I'll be able to live stream from there. That would be kind of interesting. We'll see how the wind takes us. I haven't been to an event that's been organized by this group before, so we'll see where the wind takes us, but that would be kind of cool to show you guys, like, that are usually in my online sphere, what it looks like behind the curtain when I'm doing an event in real life. But when we're looking at the transits for the week ahead, one of the requests that I got was somebody talking about something called the earth placement in human design. And so when we're looking at the right hand side, I'll show you guys on TikTok here what I'm looking at. We're looking at this grounded earth placement right here, so gate 29. So basically whatever our sun sign is doing, the grounding earth placement, that kind of puts us into more of our relaxed state, like paying attention to what it is that we're trying to accomplish, feeling that pressure from the sun, but also trying to figure out how to ground it. It's always going to be in the opposite season of whatever sun season we're in right now. So right now we're in Aquarius season. The opposing side, the earth side, what grounds the sun, the Aquarius sun, is Leo qualities or Leo placements. So right now, our Leo sun or our Leo earth placement is in gate 29, which for those of you who have it or maybe know about it in some capacity, is like the yes man gate of perseverance placement. So what grounds are kind of air. It's like our Aquarius air is like bellows to this Leo fire, and yin and yang in that way, where we're looking at paying attention to how do we persevere for this week. Also, it's like the yes person gate placement. So if you have gate 29, I use her 166, or if you're familiar with gate 29, it's also being aware of what you're saying yes to, making sure that you're not saying yes preemptively. I'm doing a free workshop with Clara, who's a lifestyle designer. She's also an intuitive. She's a 1-3 sacral manifesting generator like I am. I just made a video about like teaching yourself how to speak to people, and the people in hospitality are the ones that succeed most naturally in self-employment, and wanting to succeed, in self-employment is not only selling what you it's not only selling what you want people to pay you for, but also paying attention to what services people actually need. And I definitely think in 2026, what we thought it was going to be is changing. Even for me, like I'm never going to be the human design reader that's like, these are the 3 things that you should follow to 10x your months. Like, it's like we need to teach people even how to make like their current salary being self-employed, because there's a lot of people that are doing this work that are also in the line of nervous system regulation and trying to figure out like even how to trust themselves and having that sort of self-awareness, which is what this work teaches us. But all that to say, the sign-up link for the free workshop is also at the link in my bio if you guys are self-employed and are interested in that. But a lot of what I've been preparing in this presentation to talk about has a lot to do with paying attention to gates like gate 29 based on your energy type specifically, and that overlap. And I see a lot of, especially women, unfortunately, because I work with predominantly women, so just statistically that's going to be my pool of market research, is that a lot of women being like, okay, like I'm so excited for when this business is here and this is what's going to happen, and I'm so excited to have you be a part of it. And they don't intentionally do it, but it's like they dangle this like invisible carrot, hi Oliver, of what they hope they're going to do in business, and try to use that either intentionally or unintentionally to rope people in, right, to follow them, to follow the next Instagram that they're making, to follow the next account that they're making, but they don't spend enough time realizing that like in order for get people that are genuinely interested in whatever it is that you're doing in business, you have to already have most of that done. And what happens is that comes with having the self-trust and the self-belief and the excitement within yourself authentically, to know that like whatever your vision is, people just like people who are excited about the shit that they're doing, even if they don't understand it. It's why I could go to the whatever area of the world. I was in a bar in New Orleans, you know, a couple blocks from Bourbon Street in March, and I can talk to people that have barely even know what their sun sign is, and they're interested in what I'm talking about with human design, because I love and believe in what I'm doing, and I have enough of a logical head on my shoulders that I can explain it to the common person that understands it. That could do with Chelsea being a writer, whatever it is that you want to do. But I really think that when people say like these Aries placements or Gate 29 or being an entrepreneur, all these things that I'm talking about, it's like when you can have enough self-trust in believing in what you are, hi Ash, in what you are selling, you know, even if it's not a literal sale in business, but just like stand up for everything that you believe in, it just makes people more interested, and it opens up a dialogue of curiosity. And for my YouTube folks and you guys that are not in America, what's been really beautiful about me pouring into this portal on my left hand side of YouTube during the week is that you've definitely opened up what I've always known to be true, but like have forgotten, not having traveled abroad in a minute, is that there's a lot of the people that are online from other countries are more curious, whereas like we are very, and it's due to many different factors, but like a lot of people on edge that are they go into the defense mode or trying to attack because they feel soft about something, rather than being like, okay, this is tender, let me objectively look at that feeling and feel like, okay, why do I feel like a fish out of water in this conversation? You know, we should be having more conversations where we feel like a small fish in a big pond, not the other way around. But Doreen, how do you cultivate or strengthen your self-belief? So really, comparison is the thief of joy. That's a cliche for a reason. It's very, very true. Stop looking at who you are in relation to other people, right? Like when you see somebody that's confident and doing something that they're confident in, you don't want to then internalize that as like feeling insecure about you not having the confidence that that person has, right? So usually 99% of the time when I see people that are getting, you know, foaming at the mouth because they don't understand, or, you know, even if they are rage watching a person waiting, foaming at the mouth to connect them, in that way, which we see a lot online right now, especially as Saturn and Neptune are in Aries. It's like taking a step back and realizing that like you probably need some more somatic corporeal grounding, some sort of like detachment from all the other energies and people, places, and things that you've picked up throughout the day to have a little bit more of a personalized self-assessment. Hi, Deanna. So, you know, the first thing that I notice is that when people keep themselves very busy, and that doesn't even have to mean that they're running around to a bunch of different locations, but their screen time is, you know, 12 hours max, or they're on their phone a lot. It's a numbing tool because for whatever reason, they're afraid to sit with themselves. And that energy that is making them feel uncomfortable to sit with themselves doesn't disappear. It hemorrhages out into the wrong areas where it's misplaced anger, misplaced aggression, misplaced sadness, depression, you know, all of those kind of external expressions of that. So it's starting to understand where you're at in that process for strengthening your self-belief. Like, are you somebody who is feeling the weight of the world on their shoulders, which I can speak to knowing you a little bit more, and I know that that's true, right? And understanding like, okay, I know that I feel the weight of feeling sad about what's happening in the world right now. But, right, the way that you kind of alchemize that is doing your best to bloom where you're planted, right? It's not performative empathy or performative activism. It's, you know, what are some radical acts of joy that you can create as a form of rebellion? You know, being able to still be happy in a world where people are hurting right now is not taking away from anyone's pain or like enhancing it either, right? It's like blooming where you're planted in the way that feels possible. So, you know, more directly for you, some of the things that I would look at is saying like, okay, I can either sit here catatonic and watch the world pass me by, or realize that like, I don't know if it's going to be my last day today. A huge motivator for me and my self-belief is knowing that like, I don't know how much sand is in my personal hourglass, right? So I live every single day knowing that I will die one day. As morbid as that sounds, it's true. I have a lot of Scorpio, so it also makes a lot of sense, right? But I say like, okay, am I going to spend another day complaining about the things that I wish I was doing or the way that I wish the world was, or am I going to chip away in a manageable, sustainable way for myself and my nervous system to contribute to a solution instead of contributing to complacency, which is also part of the problem, right? And I think a lot of it just has to getting really clear with yourself, and that is like also because I know a bit of your background, right? Like there's a lot of numbing that has had to happen in your personal life maybe, but more so like your bloodline, right, with your family, that has affected that. So, you know, for somebody like me that was born into the US, even though my family didn't have its extent of problems, like that epigenetic frequency of, you know, whatever your family has been through from a biological need, like my Irish family being through, you know, the famine, and then, you know, weight issues for most of my family had always been a problem because of the epigenetics of that. Hello, happy Valentine's Day. You know, just layers that I'm kind of giving you some extra perspective to see like, why is it that I struggle with self-belief? Like, where is that coming from? What's the physical manifestation of that? You know, what culturally, I say like spiritual epigenetics, cultural epigenetics, like play into that, right? Like scarcity mindset is usually a big one. I get a lot of folks that are first generation, right? And grow up, my husband is an immigrant to this country, right? So it's like him and I have, he's a psychology major previously, so that also had helped. He came to our relationship with awareness, but like that, it's bringing an awareness to what is making you feel numb, or what is making you feel like you have such a detached sense of self. And it's being a manifesting generator like you are, it's kind of, even for projectors, it's refining it down to A or B, black or white, yes or no questions that help you get a clear sense of whatever it is that you're trying to understand, right? It's leaving it, I think, less open-ended, and really the best thing that I can encourage you to do is focus on being where your feet are, blooming where your feet are planted, and saying like, okay, in this moment, I'm looking for more clarity, right? I'm on my phone, you know, we're all in this live together right now. Brenna's helping give me some things to respond to for a little bit of clarity. Now, after I get off this live, since we've gotten into some deeper conversation, instead of keeping scrolling, unless you feel like you know you best, like what level of like anxiety do you feel? Do I need to spend more time online, or is this an actual time to journal it out, right? Like I know that from personal experience, my path through my own, you know, my 20s and my own sense of self-discovery, like I had a lot of traumatic things happen to me pretty young. One of the most traumatic things happening around like 11 years old, right? You could probably guess, reading between the lines, what those kinds of things were, without triggering anybody online. But like I needed to go to therapy, you know, once a week for a year to unlock that level of self. And what happens now, right, is that these modalities, hi Swass, happy 14th, teach a level of, there's a lot of people that do not want to deal with, or cannot, because of their insurance for whatever reason, deal with a certain layer of cognitive behavioral therapy or psychotherapy that's also appropriate before you get into this work. So I'm hi Leah, I just saw your little beautiful profile picture. I know, because of a frequency that I'm so aware of, especially, you know, living and growing up with people that struggle deeply with their mental health, when somebody is tapping into trying to work with me that has not yet uncovered that level. I have not had one person that has booked a half-hour or hour-long reading with me. So like usually it doesn't get that far, but I, you know, put up a little energetic boundary, or sometimes I have to block people pretty quickly, you know, because I'm aware of discerning with people's mental health too. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Likewise, sending you a hug too. But that's why like I am so light, and I have a strong sense of self-belief because I know what it's like to be on the other side of that. But you know, from 11 to 32, there's 2 decades worth of life in between both of those times, right? But it's like when you have to, you know, we could see that in Scorpio, you know, pattern recognition and tracking. You know, I have a lot of Scorpio in my chart that reflects that, but also like it's nature and nurture and both sides. We could directly tie it to my astrology, but I see it in both, where it's like I know people that have Scorpio moons that are like, one of the women that I've worked with, another practitioner in the last couple of years, that's a colleague of mine, was like, yeah, I have a Scorpio moon too, but I haven't, thank God, had the familial experience of what is usually statistically true about a Scorpio moon. And I'm like, don't force it if it doesn't fit based on your astrology. There are other different, you know, aspects or things that people can go through that thankfully they got the good, you know, they get to lead with the good parts of a Scorpio moon first, but everything has its good and its bad. You know, but yeah, that's the good part about Scorpio too, is I remember conversations and I remember people. So that's helpful. Hi, Leslie. How are you? Yeah, exactly. Good for Saturn returns. It's true. But even before, like, I have an awareness of how to express the wisdom now. But I was, you know, before my Saturn return, aware of those things. Like you know, when I went to therapy for every week for a year, you know, and doing that, I was like 23, you know, it was actually technically before my frontal lobe, was, what did they say? Like my frontal lobe fully developed. But, you know, I think it's just, you have to, instead of trying to critically think and decode what somebody else is doing and the way that they experience their joy and self-belief, it's having to come back in. It's like, okay, I see it in that person. I know it's possible. How does this affect me in this moment, and what can I do about it? Do I need therapy? Do I need a human design reading? Do I need astrology? Do I need to walk outside and touch grass? Like literally, like I have to remind myself, like, okay, Brenda, like go outside and walk. I know it's cold, things like that. But it's like, you have to just be where your feet are to have that self-awareness to, look at what you need. And being an intuitive and somebody that's done this work for so long and reading charts for 10 years, and I'll explain it in a second, Swas, like I have an awareness of like being able to, even if people have booked a short reading with me and they're not quite at a point where they mentally can dive into this type of work because they're at a different level, a good practitioner, for those of you listening that have the interest in doing the same thing, will know how to pivot lovingly and say like, this is your next task, worry about this. Right? So that's important. That's important to pay attention to. So Swas, the human design body graph that we're looking at, and why I love it so much, is because it's basically another variation of a birth chart. But what we're looking at is a combination of a bunch of different multicultural modalities that is not just like New Age BS, but rather a combination of astrology, the I Ching chakra system, Hindu Brahmin chakra system, and a bunch of other, you know, manifestations of the study of our aura, and how our aura, or our energy type, as you could see right below my little picture here on your right hand side, is the study of your aura and how we affect the energy of the world around us. So this is the even outside of astrology, like I tried astrology first and I enjoy it now because I found the right people to learn from and then write books for self-discovery. But this was the modality for me that helped me to feel like I could get my life back on track and just give me some tools to be a little bit more self-aware. You know, because I didn't have an environment that was exactly conducive of being able to reflect back to me what my gifts and my strengths and my weaknesses were. So being able to have that as somewhat of an objective lens or a chart that helped me understand how energy flows through my chakras and my astrological placements, and understanding them in like a tangible way and how to enact on my placements was what I found this helpful for. So let me know if you have any questions after that too. Yeah, I feel like I'm unraveling at the moment, need to get to know myself again. Absolutely. Well, and we have to have that like crying on the floor of the shower moment sometimes. Like it does have to be that dramatic. And it sounds so funny saying it out loud. Hi, Jules. But like we have to have that like 3 a.m. cry to be like, okay, like this is who I am. I'm, you know, metaphorically slapping myself across the face and saying like, I need to wake up and remember like I have other things that I want to do with my life that are important. And, you know, if you have the desire and the awareness to know that there are things in the world that need to change, then there is some piece of you, even if it's tiny as a piece of glitter, that knows that, like, you know, in the words of Gandhi, you are capable of being the change that you wish to see in the world. It's just a matter of knowing, like, what does that look like, and the kaleidoscope of that is the world and politics and government and all those kinds of things. And what's the other word? The economy, like all those things play into it, but it's like, what's that red thread that no matter what all the other external factors are going on, you have that red thread of how you can still enact on that nugget of life's purpose in the world too. So our goal is always just to find, what does that kind of look like? Oh, thank you. Aw, thank you. I appreciate that, Diana. Oh, Deanna, excuse me, Diana. I was thinking about Princess Diana today, so she's been on my mind. But thank you, Deanna. Yeah, it's cozy. I hadn't found it in a while in my closet, and it was buried, so I brought it back out again. But yeah, I think, like, I think about these things a lot, and I always am thinking about, like, if I am so bold to put myself online in that way, like, as a Pisces, I'm always like, how can I be of better service? Like, how can I like this information, but I don't do this solely from, like, a ego-driven place of, like, look how cool I am to talk about this cool modality that we see a lot in spiritual spaces. Like, it's like, how quick can I tell people about this next transit? And then, you know, it's like, it's more so like, I want to give you, and I just read for a reflector who's also an Aquarius rising and Scorpio moon like myself, and I'm not interested in keeping people attached to me for a long period of time. Like, there are clients that I have that will book with me on and off throughout the years, but it's like, if I do my job right, I'm giving you tools at the end of every reading or every live or something in some capacity that makes you feel empowered to practice something on your own, right? But it's like an aversion of Aquarius placements to, like, for hand holding and long-term attachment. That's not what we do around here. But and I say that just because it speaks to a lot of, like, the judgments or the using your spiritual discernment to understand, like, who are the people worth trusting and who are the people that we can't trust. And unfortunately, you know, there's a lot of frauds in this line of work too, but it's in every industry. Yeah, rocket science sounds easier after I hear this. I understand. Are you familiar, Swas, with your birth chart, like your astrology? Because I feel like it's like, and I say this too, and it just goes to show, I was talking about this to Deanna, who's one of my Patreon folks and has been in our community for a long time in this space, and how when you get into these worlds for a long time, we forget that people don't even know what their sun signs are, and it's just proof that, like, not, you know, we some people barely even know that. And there's the argument of, like, Vedic versus Vedic sidereal versus Western, and, you know, all those conversations that people dissolve into. But whether it's religion, whether it's human design, like, I'm just interested in people doing what they can to feel a little bit more grounded and complete, and, like, they have more of a say and just don't lay down and take what the world throws at them. So, you know, that's the lens at which I come to this work. But yeah, it's not as complicated once you, like, break it down into baby steps. But I'll try to figure out how I can help you as we see each other over time. But we'll see. So let me know if you guys have any questions in the interim too, or anything with the current transits that you want me to look at. I'll probably be back on, I'll be on for maybe another half hour, so I may dip out a little earlier today, just seeing where the wind takes us. But I will not be back on Saturday, and I'm probably actually going to change my Saturday time to 1 to 3 as well. Deanna, does that work for you? Oh yeah, that you're an Aquarius. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm an Aquarius rising, and I have 3 placements in Aquarius, which is why we recognize as real. Aquarians, I say we're Aquarian humanitarians. We have a sense of, and it's why, like, it makes sense that you and I have that energy of feeling like kindred spirits, because we're, like, detached observers of the world around us. Like, we always have a level of, like, detachment and kind of all-knowing and all, like, being able to see all sides of the Rubik's Cube. Aquarian is known as the water bearer, So we're like the vessel, and all the different types of liquid of the other 11 signs of the zodiac, you know, can be poured into our vessel. We get a taste. It's like wine tasting as an Aquarius. Like you get Saturday 1-3. Okay, perfect. Thank you. You get water as an Aquarius, or hot chocolate or wine that's poured into the glass. You swirl it and swivel it out. Oh, happy belated. Okay, February 3rd. That's amazing. Happy belated. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, it's so funny because you're 2-3 and my birthday is 3-2. So I'm almost a month after you. But yeah, so basically when we're looking at Aquarians being like the water bearer, your traditional planet is Saturn ruled. So we see a little bit of that too. But yeah, so I would concentrate on, you know, being an Aquarius. It's like you're always going to feel a little bit alone, even when you're within a group of people, because one of your gifts is teaching people not to get totally enmeshed with one identity or only seeing one person's point of view. And even if people don't know how to express themselves properly, you can come at it from a little bit of a detached perspective, higher octave, if you will, to kind of like remove yourself from a situation and say, okay, like what am I seeing here? What are the lenses? And that's why like people can say that you're cold or detached. It also is going to depend on your rising sign, but yeah, probably were a little bit of a unique child, gave your parents a little bit of a run for their money, things like that. That can also be relevant too. But yeah, okay, yeah, 1, 2, 3. Can you talk about the Aquarius solar eclipse, please? Yeah, totally understand if it's not the right place. So I was just looking at my notes because I was taking some time before. I'll make the video about the week ahead, which I'll include a little bit more in depth about that. Because the new moon solar eclipse is happening in gate 30 in human design. I wanted to look at some of the, at 28 degrees of Aquarius. So whenever we have any kind of eclipse that's in a critical degree, it's like, how are we squeezing the last bits of lessons that are happening with this placement? I was just talking about this to Deanna in our Ask Me Anything reading or session that we have privately on Patreon for my crew over there, because it's her North Node. And so basically when we're looking at the gate of feelings and how I can express this through the lens of the human design, it's like, what is it that we have to be, similar to what I just expressed to Swas about Aquarius, like detached observers are. Like, this is the feeling that I'm getting for what's happening, but how can I just roll back I know, right? Of course, gate 30. How can I just roll back the chair from the metaphorical desk, right? And say like, what are the feelings that are actually coming up? Now, a lot of astrologers, and this is where like my human design take is gonna not vary from traditional astrology, but like be a little bit more of a different explanation, but they explain the eclipse windows as like fated events or fated times. And I haven't done enough research to understand why that is. There's a couple of videos that I'll watch today and tomorrow probably to give you a better answer. I like, if you read Doreen or watch on YouTube, her name's Pam Gregory. She talks about that more because she's just a pure astrologer, not a human design reader. And, but really all that to say with Aquarius or any kind of a solar eclipse, when we're looking at that through the lines of gate 30. Hi, Carlos. Because I want to read, wait, let me look at what it's in its detriment. But like not taking things personally, even if they are, has been a big lesson with this placement. I was also looking and talking to a few people like Deanna about it's how your feelings affect like the flavor of the way you interpret your people around you or the people around you and your environment around you. So it's not letting, and we see this on the world stage, but also personally, it's not letting other people project their feelings onto you. And that is full circle to what you were asking about self-belief. Hi, Deanna, or hi, Diane, excuse me. I've mixed up both Diane. We manifested Diane coming into the crew here by me calling you Diane and Diana earlier, Deanna. All my D's. Hi, June. Which is so funny. But yeah, I have no idea how to do these maps. This is just from my chart generator on my website, Carlos. Do you know what your sun sign is? Yeah, you're true. I always feel alone, even with my friends or in a room full of people. That's why I don't have many friends, because they say I'm a very quiet person with less vibe. Yeah, that's why I say, so my husband's an Aquarius and we co-veg a lot. So like a lot of, when you're reading energy all the time, like my husband and I love to like, it's called like parallel play. too. Like, we love to be in the same room or next to each other on the couch doing our own thing, but that's because that for us, Swas, is quality time. Same for my other friends. One of my best friends from college I just saw the other day, because we live a couple hours from each other, and the reason we're such good friends and like we like get along so well is because we can be together all day, but we are self-aware enough of each other and in tune with enough of each other to know like when it's okay to have like a lull in conversation, right? And hang out in the same room together, but no, like when is a time for silence, like not always having to fill the void. And I think that's important too. Paying attention to that. Yes, Dan, I do paid readings. So if I look at your chart specifically, it's $15 US for 10 minutes, and I send you a copy of your reading. The link to that is in my bio. I have a chart up for the general energy, and then the questions that I'm answering about specifics are for the transits that are happening right now. Hi, Amanda. Yeah, always learn too much. Yes, I'm happy to. Thank you. I am like a teacher by nature, so like anything that I can pass on, I'm happy to. But yeah, it doesn't differ from the place you were born. So this is all based on your birth date, time, and location. For human design, we can get away with just having, even if you don't have the exact time of birth, your best guess and the day and your best guess for time, and then we have your birthday and your location. There's also consistencies that don't change within any sort of hours that I would be able to tell you and give you at least a 10-minute reading on that. But yeah, we look at that too. But Diane, if you know your chart, if you have any specific questions you want to ask, I always say I'm here to talk with you, not at you. But I'm Aquarius rising. I keep it fair, where everyone since the beginning of time that I've been on TikTok for 3 years now, I've always kept it the same way, just to be fair for anyone who's ever paid me and those who will pay me to come. So, and then I do anything for free. When I'm giving people personal advice, I do that in the comments every single day with as many people as I can get back to for the energy of the day. But yeah, I wanted to actually read, so I can read to you about gate 30 to talk about, or how you can think about the lens of this eclipse. So basically, and I'll do this with you guys a little bit more deeply on Monday. Let me see. But the way, so I'm reading from this book called The Definitive Book of Human Design. So with the Definitive Book of Human Design, the text that I'm about to read is written as if you have this placement natally, okay? But what I want you to think of it when you're listening to this as how this energy, when I'm reading it, is affecting or creating a lens through which the solar eclipse is happening on Monday in Aquarius, with the new moon in Aquarius. So the Gate of Fates teaches us that life is not what we expect it to be, it's what we allow it to be. Your experiences are conceived from a desire that then meets life on the highs and lows of your emotional wave. This desire can feel like an obsessive hunger that weaves the yearnings of different lives together, influencing your interactions until it is satisfied or fulfilled. The only control you have is over the clarity with which you enter into each experience, not over the outcome. Because desire can only be temporarily satisfied, life without clarity becomes a wild emotional ride. What they say a lot about this placement, and what the core of what I've been saying across all of the things that I've said today, is to not do things because of how you think other people perceive you when they're done or when you're doing them. That is 101 to burnout, especially when it comes to business. There are a lot of people, I know the nanosecond it happens, like at a reading with me, and then, 5 days later, they're like, I'm a human design reader. If that's true that could be true for other people too. I'm not the only human design reader. I don't desire to be. I didn't create human design. Obviously, I'm one in the domino effect of many. But the frequency of the difference between somebody else who does something, becomes an astrologer because they are excited and feel how aligned somebody else is versus how aligned they'll be while doing it. Right? And we can try on different hats, but it's like rushing to create a business out of something that you did because you saw somebody else doing it is exactly what this is teaching us. It will no longer stand anymore. So you have to have that self-awareness to sit with yourself and say, okay, I'm here for my own individual purpose. Is that with the pool of astrology and human design? Is that something else? Like where do I feel, at least at this moment in time, what's going to satisfy me the most, right? And it's not cheating yourself of trying to immediately overrule whatever you want to do with your logical mind of, I can't do that, this is why it's not going to work. It's like, start to give it a little bit of a trial and error period and distinguish that difference. Are Aquarians bad at love life because I've never experienced love? No, but you are Saturn ruled. So Saturn is an elongator. It's like it makes things happen for us later in life. For me, I'm not even like late into life, but I have a lot of friends that actually got married, 5 to 10 years ago, right? Or had kids, that are a few years old already. And me, my husband and I having dominant Aquarius placements, us doing things a little bit later. But it's also what helps us, the wisdom of experience, usually living a longer life. So it's like, you're right on time for whatever your age is, but also finding somebody that's not rushing into anything without intention. You're not somebody who's going to rush into a relationship unless it's truly beneficial, right? Like most people get into relationships, especially in the US, that's why the divorce rate is 50%, because they want to be married based on a timeline. They didn't actually, and this is the person that was with them at the time that they proposed to or they got married to. They have kids, they fulfill that life, but then, as if on cue, 10, 20 years later, they get divorced because they turn and look at that person after their kids are grown and they say like, oh, like, wait, we actually don't have a friendship. We don't really have a real relationship that respects the other partner. So yeah, don't make anyone feel bad about the timeline of your life for that too. It looks cool. Maybe I'll try it later. Yeah, absolutely. My supervisor's making my life a nightmare. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it definitely can. Maybe this can give me a hint how to shield and defend from this creature. Yes, this is what I'll say to you, Carlos, that would be helpful outside of any of this work, is that most people go into management positions in corporate life because it comes with a pay grade, not because they actually like people. So they sign up for a job that gives them more money, but then the misery that comes from them actually having to work on conflict resolution all day when it comes to working with other people is not something that they consciously go into. So your life, being a nightmare is because they are not choosing something that's aligned with what they should be doing for their career. They just chose something that was aligned with the money that came with the bump in title. So I'll pause there as you're saying at the same time. But yeah, I feel like a lot of people, I've had a lot of people that have talked about having bad bosses for that reason too. Yeah, to go back to gate 30 here. So over time, you see that the freedom to fulfill your wildest dreams is merely an illusion, and unreciprocated desire should not be taken personally. So when it says like you see the freedom to fulfill your dreams, your wildest dreams, it's that like it's the human condition to get back always to a place of feeling unfulfilled again in some capacity, not to the place where it's like it knocks you down and takes you out and you're miserable. Does that happen? Yes, but it's like we're meant to try different things and explore. Human beings, we're being and doing something. We're meant to unturn a lot of stones, and that's what's more helpful, right? We're not supposed to, and this is where like we're all like the guinea pig generation. Most of our parents were in the same job, until they retired, and the ones that did well, like I do have friends, parents of friends of mine that stayed in their job for a long period of time, but they also, allowed themselves to mentally detach from their day job in a healthy way, where outside of work, they had a well-rounded life. They made an effort to do things. Now, it's also a caveat that we have to acknowledge is that, the economy was also different then and our money went farther. Your dad could be a manager, of a grocery store, and that supported a family of 5, and, that worked for them, so it's like, depending on where you are, and the economy, that also changes some things too. So it's like not beating yourself up. We are living in, when we say unprecedented times, like that really is true, where it's like, we don't have, and that's why I think as a millennials, at least for myself and those of you who are close in age to me, people who are in positions of authority or older don't like when we question their authority, right? So when it comes to bosses too, but it's like, okay, well, I don't know, like we know pretty consistently that the adults in our life or people in positions of authority didn't really truly have the lens in terms of the advice that they needed to give us, because the advice that they did give us doesn't apply in today's world. So, it's like we've kind of had to have a little bit more of a DIY adulthood, for a little for different reasons. But, you know, as a generalization, it's like, it's tiring, but it's also, for me, I feel it has helped my self-belief and my self-confidence because I know how to think in a lens that allows me and my fellow millennials, I feel like this too, to critically think about where I need to go to get the information to make me feel better, to allow myself to pivot, because anything that I want to accomplish or have a fear of the unknown about is just on the other side of me educating myself and researching and finding the information. So I hope that made a little bit more sense, but a couple tangents. Yeah, I never tried to find love. I just say, leave it. If there's someone, they will find me. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, I met my husband and we reconnected again. When we were both at that place where I was like, I love being alone and I'm completely okay being alone. So anyone that came in that I was going to be in a relationship with had to be somebody that was contributing to more of the excitement and joy and friendship in my life instead of taking away from it. And I think that has to be more normalized than not. People say that it's normal, like they know it as a concept, but like once you go out and, you know, you go to your family parties and you see different people in your friend group, it's different because we can find each other in these spaces here, but it's, you know, it could be different in real life for some people. Yeah, I was just having that conversation with my husband about a couple different people in our friend group too. So, but yeah, the last little line that I'll read here, a couple sentences about this solar eclipse. So balance in your life comes through surrender, through accepting what is. In doing so, you need not fear the fates or feel pressured to chase after fantasies. By accepting your limitation or place in the larger pattern of life, your reflections on feeling and desiring deeply while experiencing your humanness become a gift shared with others. This is what I was going to say earlier that I was thinking about, that I've struggled to like articulate in a way that like I'm always trying to make myself as clear as possible, and talking about these kind of larger concepts. So a lot of people, especially for me, like I feel like growing up on the East Coast and being, you know, in such close proximity to New York City and like just seeing that kind of like fast lifestyle and being in an area where it's more common for people to have nice clothes and fancy cars and things like that. There are a lot of people now, and I've seen it, you know, and even some of my previous friends that like, you know, they have a really nice car that they put all of their monthly salary into, but then they go home with their parents, you know, at the end of the day, and they're unhappy because they want an apartment, but they don't realize like it's kind of like this ego-driven desire to be entitled to having more, and having what they want without really knowing or understanding what it takes to work for it, especially if they have parents that are in upper middle class households, that again, like were able to purchase these almost $1 million homes that they're living in with their parents now in an economy that was different. The house wasn't that expensive, you know, the ratio, the economic ratio of salary to, you know, mortgages was different. And a lot of people don't want to be realists and admit where they're actually at in their life. That's where there's a lot of people that are in credit card debt of extreme proportions. You know, it's like, again, social media contributes to not enough people seeing the reality of life, and that, you know, you've probably seen a couple posts about it too, like people who, your friend that's always traveling, you know, you're only seeing a snippet of the fact that they're traveling, but when it's combined in with everyone else's highlight reel, the perceived assumption, especially for younger kids, is that like all these people are doing all these other cool things and I'm not, or they, you know, are able to buy all this different decorations for their home, you know, for every holiday, and I'm not. And it's like it distorts the reality of how most people live. And when I am teaching or really working with people, like I always am doing a level of discernment of like, is this person bold enough to go after what they know that they want, but are they also capable of being realistic about like using the resources that they have in front of them to get scrappy enough to use what they have to pursue whatever it is that they want to pursue, especially if they're the first entrepreneur in their family, which takes a certain amount of grit. Either way, life is hard. You cannot go into entrepreneurship or self-employment thinking that it is going to alleviate you of problems, period. You have to decide what variation of problems is more tolerable for who you are as an individual. I am the type of person that cannot stand being spoken down to by somebody who doesn't know what they're doing just because they're paid a higher salary than me and they took the bait, of being a whatever manager. I was okay with leaving corporate life, knowing that I did it in stages. I still worked a job that I didn't like, but I was scrappy enough to come home and say, I am paying for this apartment by myself. I don't have any help. I don't have a safe place that I could go back to in terms of my family home. Like, I have to shit or get off the pot, right? So it's like, I was okay with choosing the challenge of saying, I'm responsible for where the money for my bills comes every month, right? So that also is like, when we're in the spiritual discipline, like I would not sit here, I'm married and I'm in a dual income household right now, but I would not sell people on a dream if I know that, like, if that shit all went away tomorrow, I can take care of myself financially, independently, put a roof over my head, food in my mouth, and have money left over to be able to do the things that I want to do for the future and enjoy my life. So, when it comes to also like the expose of all of these things are happening with people who are selling you, like when you see the paid Instagram ads that are like these women telling you how to make money based on your astrology, some of them are correct, but a lot of them, it's like a game of telephone and they saw somebody else doing it and they spent $10,000 on somebody else's coaching program and they're repeating, a game of telephone of the same type of thing that they were taught to try to catch up on the $10,000 worth of debt that they're in for paying for a coaching program. So starting to open your eyes to that level of discernment and knowing like what you're capable of or what you are wanting to being more realistic about it. It doesn't mean that you can't have whatever you dream of. And this is coming from a very dreamy Pisces. I have 3 planets in Pisces, right? But also somebody who knows that like I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this work or any spiritual practice is going to absolve you of any problems, and there's a lot of people, again, it goes back into people who profit and people who want to believe that the power is outside of themselves, which is how we get ourselves into this mess to begin with. So, do you also read stuff about chaos magic and other occultism? I have, yeah. Years ago, I was reading a lot about different occult stuff. I love that. Like, I like reading about so many people's different takes. Usually what will happen, Carlos, is that when I have somebody that follows chaos magic or, my father-in-law way back when in Cuba, would talk a lot about Santeria and like stuff like that too. So I'm always interested in other cultures and like what their hyper-specific, culturally specific practices have been when it comes to spirituality. Even I was talking the other day in one of our larger YouTube sessions during the week about, because Ramadan is coming up too. It's Lunar New Year, Ramadan, the beginning of Ramadan, and like a bunch of different things happening all on the day. I think it's the first day of Ramadan and the solar eclipse on the 17th of this month, if I'm not mistaken. I know it's sometime like very soon because a couple of you guys were talking to me, Leba, specifically about fasting and preparing for the holiday. But it opens up your mind to seeing, I think that for me at the core, that when you start to study the more hyper-specific ways that people go about their spirituality, that at the core, there's like a red thread of wanting to do all these very hyper-specific things to get to the same thing that we want to feel. So it's interesting. I was going to ask about having an open head. Yeah, December has no gates. So that's what I have too. It's literally, we're open-minded. And teaching her to not feel pressured to have to rush to pick a side. If I wake up, 3 days from now and I get a lot of information about something that I believe to be true that then proved to be wrong, like my ego isn't so strong where I can't say, I was wrong about that. I misunderstood, right? Like there's going to be like, the world will try to condition her to make herself feel bad, but it's like, we're literally open-minded where we have no preconceived notions about like what things should be. But I know like growing up, at least for me, there was a pressure to feel like I should know that, I should be thinking about that, I should have more of a stance. Like it's like the woulda, shoulda, coulda is like the not self variation of that. Hi Dwadiki. Once my friend asked me what you'll choose, a room with friends or a room you'll stay alone for the rest of your life, I chose the second. My friends told me you're crazy, people stop normalizing that. It's true. I mean, Listen, I've surrounded myself with people who are comfortable being by themselves and aren't chasing, are trying to shove down their feelings by surrounding themselves so loudly with other people. You remember, like, it's like the visual I got, Leonardo DiCaprio, the Great Gatsby, how he was so lonely and was just trying to get Daisy back, right? And so he filled his house because he had all the money to fill it with a big party. It's like, that's like the wealthy manifestation of people who cannot be with themselves. And it's a difference between being social and extroverted and people who have to be that way or always have to be doing something in company with other people because they can't sit with that. I remember the first person I noticed that about was my ex-boyfriend, my first serious boyfriend, his mom. And I remember watching her and I'm like, why can she never be home? Like, she's married, she has her husband here. And it was the first time I was like in my early 20s, like 22. And I was just observing that. And I was like, and it came out, a year later, him and I get back from a morning at the spa and she goes, yeah, I'm leaving. I'm leaving the family. Basically I have another apartment close by that I've been paying for. And then it ended up she had somebody else that she was dating. And so it's like that there's that Nigerian meme that's like the guy that's like, why are you running? And it's like, what are you running from? It's like I really had been, that was the first time where I was like, oh, that opened my eyes to seeing the world in another way, of being more discerning about people who always have to fill their mind all the time with something else. And they lack a level of self-awareness that I require for people in my personal life. Because I wasn't taught that, but I was aware enough to do the visual, study, or the being a person in the world that, is aware that I am one in a community of humanity. Hi, Monica. Yeah, I'm so glad you love it. Hello, hello. Hi, Tino. Welcome. Tino? Excuse me. Tiano? But yeah, so I think that, it's okay to go inward for a little bit of a while, to get a sense of who you are, what you want. And like being alone temporarily doesn't mean that you're going to be alone forever. Let's do a little puzzle here. I think a lot of people, and that's what I keep coming back to, is checking your instant gratification. Hello, Za. Yes. This is my Saturday live. Yeah, living as a foreigner in Finland, the life perspective changes a lot, and it helped me to see lots of things I never dreamed about worrying. Absolutely. It's an experience I recommend and set. Absolutely. Like, I grew up watching the Travel Channel back before it was a ghost show, and I still to this day, rest in peace, Anthony Bourdain, like Andrew Zimmern, like I was always interested in things outside of myself. Growing up on the East Coast, I could get penne vodka and go to a Roman Catholic baptism anytime. But I'm like, what else exists outside of this? My dad was also very, like, culturally aware. And it didn't, like, I was just raised by a dad who was always like, where are you from? And, like, where's your family from? And, like, I didn't realize that wasn't always normal. So I'm very grateful. Kudos to my Virgo dad in giving him his credit where credit is due. Like, that is important to me. Can you tell me the current time is, so we're about an hour in, it's an hour, 2 minutes right now. So probably around like just before an hour in, Deanna. But yeah, it's the undefined, or having no, the head. I just realized you asked for the head. I have all 3 gates in the head, but I have no gates in the ajna, so being open-minded. Similar to the head, however, it's more of a spiritual take. So I think a lot of what December will also have to focus on will be, I'm feeling these emotions, are they mine or somebody else's? Hi, Chelsea. Is it like, what intuitive downloads am I getting? What mysteries do I have to let go and say, okay, I have a piece of this puzzle solved, but life is an ongoing puzzle that I'm trying to figure out, versus like grounding. Oh my God. Sorry, Chelsea just dropped a bomb right here. Oh my God, I'm sweating. I have to chill out for a second after just reading that. Oh my God. Girl, I'm ready. So this is, okay, so for context, Chelsea was talking about her situationship that she just found out his live-in girlfriend of 2 years and told her everything talk. Girl, like, I wish it's like the way my jaw stayed in place. I feel bad for you because I feel like, like that's awful. Hi, Set. But like, it's like, it just like, you could just tell the vibe. Like, it's that, and I love that for you because it's just an affirmation of like all of the shit that's going on right now. It's like nothing can stay hidden. And good for you for like actually having a conversation with the girl and like literally the dream person for her to have that conversation with because of the level of self-awareness that you have, because that conversation on both sides probably could have got, and who knows like what she but what a universal gift that is to you. I mean, obviously I don't know how she responded to the conversation, favorably to you or whatever, but like, oh my god, I'm gonna wait if there's anything else you need to say, but I'm gonna look back here. Human Santeria is very similar to Brazilian. Candomblé? That's so interesting. Yeah, I feel like it's like as you kind of go along, like I think of like you see what generally like the cultural like Egyptians are like in Sudan being right underneath Egypt. You can see kind of like the gradient of culture that goes through the way that people look as you go through the world, which I think it's so fascinating. Like Sudanese music sounds like it's very like very Arabian in nature, or there's a lot of that. I don't know, actually, I don't know the actual language of Sudan or if Arabic is spoken there, but I have someone here was from Sudan, and was telling me to listen to some Sudanese music, so I did on Spotify, and I was like, oh, this sounds very similar, like, because I studied art history, and part of our art history program was also the music department, which was small, so we also did this whole, like, thing about instruments. So it's like how every culture has its variation of a dumpling or ravioli or whatever, pierogi. Like there's different variations of a guitar. So like the oud as well, OUD, like the type of Arabic guitar is really interesting too. Yeah, Trippy Truth is coming out. I have a similar situation, Deanna. That's crazy. And just the fact that both of you are here too at the same time to like deal with that. Yeah. I feel it's like, oh my god. I'm like, I mean, I live for the tea, but like, I'm glad because I know that you're a person that's like, oh, okay, this just like made it a lot easier for me to get over this person. Because I had an experience like that too with somebody, beforehand, and I was like, this is so, like, you're 5 years older than me, like, this is embarrassing. Yeah. And listen, like, people need to have more shame. Like, actually. Your father-in-law seems to be a promising father-in-law. He is. He's amazing. I'm very lucky. I'm very blessed. Yes, like Human Design's awesome. So this is the type of chart that I read predominantly for work. So Saturdays are my lives, where those of you who are my regulars, my nice regulars that I talk to, from 1 to 3 during the week, Eastern time, there are co-working lives and conversations there. Saturdays are for the businessy part of things. So this is a transit chart. Basically, you're looking at somebody sitting crisscross applesauce and all their chakras, and this is a personification of the astrological transits that are happening right now. Yeah, it's honestly, Chelsea, like, I feel the relief for you, of like not having to worry about like that, the dis-ease. A man, truly a heteronormative man, like when you are a straight person, any straight man will never leave you confused. I had to learn that the hard way, like, genuinely. But like any man that likes women, that wants to be with a woman, will never leave you confused. If you're confused, he doesn't want you. That's just the truth. Oh, bye, Carlos. Nice to see you. I'll see you next time. Let me see. Yeah, on a walk, a neighbor said it's not my best day, and I saw my opportunity to hug her. I love that. See? And that's like literally those micro moments of just like, oh wow, like this is such a nice kindred moment we have with somebody who lives like literally right next door. I love that. And touched your strongest sense without hugs is so hard. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, there's no more what ifs or fantasy. I know, and I feel like with the Pisces rising, it's like also that like we love, like Pisceans, like we love the fantasy of things. Yeah, if he's confused, he doesn't want you. It's true. If he's confused, he hasn't made his decision yet between which bitch. Like, it's just true. It's so true. I lived in that delusion because it's like really, I was dating somebody for their potential, not the reality of who they were. You know, and then we'll ride that wave until you wake up and realize you want to hop off the surfboard, you know, and you're like, oh, I actually hate the fucking water. I don't want to swim. I live in delusion. My gate 16 is delusional. Yeah, as in the line of delusion. There you go. Yes. And I think that's like gate 16, Gemini gate of skills. It's like you have so much to offer, like spend it on somebody who appreciates it, this is just so apropos for Valentine's Day too. Aw, kisses on your heart. Likewise, Carlos. I'll see you later. Besitos. But yeah, right? It's so crazy. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of people, like, you have to be okay with, and I think, again, Pisces and Aquarius placements, Leo, Cancer, like, we have that all loving energy on brand. Yes. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yes. Loving energy where it's like we want to believe, and most heteronormative men, straight men in relationships do not learn until, hi, Nadem, do not learn until you leave. And you have to make an example out of them. But like they will think about you, reach out, you know, try to contact you in your dreams, like, literally. But you know, it's kind of like, damn, like it does suck for you that you fumbled me. Like that's the energy that you have to be with, because it's true. Hello, yes, welcome. I'm back. I'm here. Won't be on Sunday, but I'll be back on Monday. I miss you guys too, and I'm not here. Nice to see you again. But yeah, Chelsea, like, listen, from having so many Pisces placements, and eventually, like, they'll get over it, you know, like, either they'll work through it and they'll find somebody that they're supposed to be with because they've grown in that direction, or they'll stay the same. You know, you could be you, away from me. Goodbye. You know, and I think it's like, once you do that, especially in romantic relationships, it also becomes much easier to do that in friendships too. And I've had, you know, being a mutable sun, there's been some orientationally questionable straight women that have wanted to be my friend, and I don't think they were fully aware. You know, for me, a lot of my guy friends are gay, and you know, in college, going to school in New York City, I was a part of, you know, going down to Duplex and around the corner from Stonewall and down that area, you know, being in New York City for most of my college life and a little bit after. And yeah, it's interesting. That's a whole nother conversation. Yes, my design is okay. What, Nadem, do you know your sun sign? Yeah, Gemini, Venus. I feel like it's a lot of like mutable, but also, like, I will say this about some unaware Cancer risings and Leo risings. If they aren't getting the attention that they need from relationships, this is vulgar, but it's true. It's like a hole is a hole in the dark. They just want a warm body to sleep next to, and like, they don't care about who it is. If they are so not okay with being with themselves and like are operating out of like an unhealthy need for companionship of a platonic, you know, or sexual nature, like, they really are like, oh, okay, like, maybe I just want to be with this person now, you know? So it's like having that, yes, mutual, oh, Sun and Venus, that's so interesting. That too. Your sun sign, like, when's your birthday? When is your birth month and day? You don't have to tell me your year or anything more than that, but your birth month and day. But yeah, I've noticed that with a lot of people, like, and again, just being with a lot of people, observing a lot of people, 1-3, like, love of human psychology. You know, it's not only reserved to those signs in particular, but like, I've seen, you know, people, you know, using, and I was having this conversation with one of my friends that, you know, is gay and was dating, you know, a partner of his, and it was like, oh, I don't know if you actually are gay, or if you just have been so lonely for so long and don't know how to talk to women, like that, a whole conversation about that, which was really interesting. So yeah, absolutely, I'm glad about who I am, because I could never, absolutely, it's because of my childhood, 100%. It's a pet, like, I don't think that that's the majority of people, but yeah, I understand. Well, especially men like that, but like, they're not all bad. And like, it takes time, like, I think in relationships. Oh, happy belated birthday. So you are either an Aquarius or you may be a Capricorn. Nadem, are you very like hardworking? I mean, Capricorns and Aquariuses both are. Like, you like to work, like it feels good to work. Or you feel like very motivated. I'm gonna say I don't know. It's hard to say because I don't know too much about. I obviously don't know too much about you. But listen, like I'm married to a man, but I'm also married to a man that was like an immigrant to this country and has two older sisters. One of them that's almost 12 years older than him. Like, has a good relationship with his parents, is good at boundary setting. So like they do exist. So find you a man, not my man, but your man. Oh, Capricorn. Okay, cool. But no, there's that woman that was like if you're on New Jersey Talk, the ice caramel latte girl, that's her phrase. Find you a man, not my man, but your man. But she's stuck in my head whenever I say something like that. But they are out there. It's just a matter of like, you need to clear your path of like fools like that in the interim. Hi, bestie. How are you? Oh, I'm so glad. I love that. Yeah, no, they're good ones. I just can't seem to find them. Yeah, because you had one blocking the path, that got two baddies and he shouldn't have even had one. So it's like, I didn't have my husband now when the other one was in his way, but I was detached enough in my Aquarius way where I was like, I'm in this for a moment. I was not convinced, like, especially with men that are okay with that. Like I was telling you about the whole situationship thing. It's like, it also works with men like that too, where you can't turn a hoe into a house husband, or a husband period. Like I'm sure statistically somewhere on earth it's been done, but like, use your express discernment to decide if the one that you find in the future that's like that, if that is the case, is a person that's capable. Happy Valentine's Day. Yeah, I'm sure it will come, but I'm deeply in the house. Yeah, and I think a lot of people like need to stay indoors before they go back out again, No, I'm on TikTok at the same time, so that's where the other chat is. On Saturdays, I dual stream, so on the right-hand side. I'm a hard worker, but sometimes I'm not. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, so that's where I'm seeing both. You're the only one in the chat, though, right now. So I'm reading the chat on YouTube. I'm reading the chat on TikTok at the same time. But yeah, hardworking Capricorns also are like a good balance of like, you have a good balance of the head and the heart, generally speaking, and trying to balance the two. Balance is very, very important. So it's okay that you're not always a hard worker, but you want to work hard when it matters to work hard. Yeah, that's okay. A lot of people on YouTube don't, because I know for some of you guys, wherever you live, you don't have TikTok in your country. We almost didn't here either. Last year we didn't for a day. We barely do now, hanging on by a thread on my right-hand side. I'm so excited. 2-4 generator. Yeah, absolutely. Your friends, man. I love that. I need to work on my discernment, my intuition. I think you're at that point, Chelsea, where I was like, it's not that you don't have it. It's just that, like, don't beat yourself up for having an open heart. I've been hurt and betrayed by a lot of girlfriends, by men, by my family, like my mom, right? Like literally people in my personal life that had like no business doing that, right? But like I do not let that close my heart off or make myself feel so bad about choosing to have an open heart. Thank you, Pink. For people who didn't know how to treat me properly. Like that is like, I think that like if I had to pat myself on the back for something, it's that like no matter how many times people disappoint me, I'm still willing to move forward with an open heart and not have that close me off. And neither should you. Just because shitty people do shitty things doesn't mean that everyone is shit. So I don't go through the world thinking like, I use my discernment, but I don't have a wall up, as to thinking that it's like all people, are gonna betray me at some point. And this is coming from a Scorpio moon conjunct Jupiter, with 5 placements in Scorpio, so it's the Scorpio, Aquarian, Piscean sun combination. Hi, Fab Business Coach. But like, I think that outside of astrology, even so, if you take nothing away from anything I've said, that's just a good human lens. Is like there will be people, but like getting up and trying again and living for the hope of the handful of people that you find. It's like throughout life we kiss a lot of frogs to find the people that are the diamonds in the rough that do turn into the princes of our life, not just in a romantic way but also in a friendship way, that teach us how to be relaxed. And I think it also comes with like not rushing into relationships of any kind. Like it's very, because of the work that I do, it's very easy for me to see people. I'm a Pisces. It's very easy for me to be the first person that can understand people and see all parts of them, good or bad, and not judge them. So that does something to people when you're the first person, especially in a spiritual discipline, who's done that for people, and also reflected in astrology. But just because of that and being a nice person today, that creates like a level of people who can become obsessed, or like, I have a lot of people that I've had to train out of my DMs because I'm like, listen, like I'm a normal person and I talk to people like a normal person, right? Like I am, not closed off. I don't have a problem sharing things that I've gone through when it's relevant to you guys in the chat, because that's like what we need more of. Like, I don't there's a time and a place for everything, but that can confuse people in thinking that like sometimes you're closer than you are. And I think that that's also like an ever-going study in like the boundarylessness of Pisces placements too, like having to remind people of that there is a boundary there. But it's like that doesn't mean that every time something happens to you that like I want to hear about it in my DMs. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm happy to share, but it's like that's fine, but I'm happy to like write me a testimonial, like just read the room for like the role that I play in your life. And that's like on parasocial relationships too. So like I'm okay with having somebody unfollow me. Bye, I'll see you. It was nice to see you. I'll see you on Monday. Yes, love to you too. Likewise. I'll see you. It is 3:57 Eastern Standard Time. I'll stay on until 4:30 now, because we hit a good roll, a good stride. Yeah, I love that. I love Aladdin. I love Prince of Egypt. The music from Prince of Egypt is amazing too. I love that though. That's so sweet. Does December like it also? Yeah, I need to hear this, because it's hard not to become pessimistic. Yeah, and I would also say, like, until I brought my bouquet down with me, until you have somebody that's buying you these, buy them for your damn self. You don't need to wait for anybody else to buy them for you. Like, that's also, when I was like in my apartment by myself, like I love my apartment. It was set up exactly how I wanted it. My home is exactly how I want it. My husband can decorate his office and his room. Happy Valentine's Day. Any way he wants. Thankfully, we agreed upon like the same kind of style of how we decorate the house, right? There's not all Birth of Venus Botticelli's on every single wall. But like in my office, like we each have our own, we have obviously our shared spaces, but then we each have offices in our house where we can have our own thing. But yeah, it's like you have to, like, that's part of like the manifestation. And even if I take the spiritual lens out of it, it's like, if you want somebody to treat you a certain way, you also have to know that you're deserving of treating yourself that way too. And it's a luxury for anyone else to be able to do those things for you. And I don't say that from an ego-based perspective, but like you have to have enough self-worth to believe in yourself in that way. And like you can buy yourself the flowers. Like I would get, when I was like broke, right? Like I was like, late on my credit card bills, 500 credit score broke. I would still buy myself like a bouquet of 12 white roses. And just because I couldn't, fill my whole house with flowers, I still can't now because I have a cat that would eat and throw up all over the place. But neither here nor there. But I would have like all little different vases that I would put all the white flowers all over the place. I know sometimes on my my desktop it does. I'm sorry. I don't know how to fix it. I think it's just the it's not always good, the translation. So I'm sorry about that. I'm a little glitchy. Keep a good heart, learning to give it to the right people. Learn from experiences. Absolutely. Yeah, more joy, less stress. I really, I believe in it because I've done it and it worked. So I'm speaking not just from like only with my placements, but like I'm a real person who's a woman that wanted a relationship, that had a desire to get married one day. And those were the things that I had to be honest with myself about, to do for myself to get to where I am now, so it's like nothing that I talk about is without personal experience, or personal experience with somebody that I know, like, and trust, that was honest with me about their stories in some way. Oh, I love that. That's so cute. Hi, Zarai. I love that. It's so cute to see your reaction. That's so sweet. I love that. I know all the old Disney movies too, like their who does the voice of Jasmine? It's the Filipino singer, Leah something. I forget her name, but they used to. this is dating myself, but they used to on in your McDonald's Happy Meal when I was a kid, they would give you a cassette tape, and whatever Disney movie was out at the time, you would have a cassette tape with like the Broadway renditions, basically, or the Broadway-esque voices of whatever songs were in that Disney movie, like Aladdin. So somewhere, probably at my parents' house, they still have some of those cassette tapes in a box somewhere. Yell Chelsea, and it's okay, Chelsea, to be like pessimistic for a minute. Like, this literally just happened 2 days ago. Like, I wasn't skipping around happy. What happened to me with my ex, to tell you more of the story, like, so I dated, I've had four serious relationships, but 3 serious boyfriends, including my husband. I've lived with all 3. My second relationship was the most traumatic, and I didn't want to date him, but I was like, literally, I'll give the ugly guy a chance. Yeah, that's fine. Like, and that's awful, but that's really what I thought. I was like, okay, well, like, maybe that's just what I'm supposed to do, and that's just what my path is. Like, that's like how low my self-worth was. I was like, I'll just give the ugly guy a chance. Like, okay, this will be my Piscean charity work. Which is so crazy, but like that, it was just like such a not good time. And really what it was is like, I was in like a violent situation at home. I was like dating unconsciously to like escape and like live with somebody else that was 6 years older than me. Yeah, this was bad. It was bad. Maybe I'll be brave enough if it's like, to post his picture in the comments, but like, I'm literally embarrassed. Like, oh God. So, and the reason I say that, like, you could be like, it's energy that's attractive, right? It's like, so we had a good friendship, like we laughed a lot together, but we should have never dated. It was like 6 months of him asking me out like every single day until he wore my ass down. And, literally the day that he asked me out was it was my first big work event, and I had, it was the biggest work event that we built ourselves up to, because I worked for this non-for-profit that had its biggest event on June 21st. And fast forward 4 years later, we're in our own apartment together, and it was COVID, right? This is January of 2021. And I was doing online art workshops and helping people do all the tech for their, yes, me too. I love that. I know, exactly. Infatuation over genuine connection. The genuine connection is what we want. So long story short, I needed to sign into, sorry, Benny, another Zoom account to see what this person wasn't seeing or what they were seeing on, no, I'm on a TikTok. I'm not on, I have a Twitch account, but I haven't gone live there, ever, but maybe I will. We'll see. Maybe I'll do it just chatting. But TikTok is on my right-hand side. But I looked, and he basically, from literally the exact day, June 21st, that he asked me out, he was texting somebody else. No indication of like ever meeting with people in real life, because I also don't think he could pull anybody. That's why he was so desperate. So it was like online, like all these years of messages from the day that we were sitting at the bar after one of the best like work events that I had. I planned a full day of concerts at an old Victorian mansion that was like on a bunch of TV shows and like in a bunch of videos on Staten Island. And I was just like, I was like immediately grossed out. I remember he came home that night and I didn't say anything. And this is right after we got back from Sedona, and I loved it there, and we were with another couple, and I felt like the fourth wheel the whole time. I was just like, I felt like it was that COVID, like, come to self moment that we all had, in some variety. And I was like, yeah, I'm not supposed to be, like, I was finally, like, could make my own money, and I, had that flow, so I was, like, not, my nervous system, and physical safety was better. And so it ended up being like, he came home, I didn't say anything. I was like, I'm gonna go to bed early. I was like, literally like repulsed, like, get away from me. And he ended up getting, the vid like that night. Like, he started to feel bad, like, cause he was also like, yeah, I'm probably gonna sleep early. And I was like, oh, of course, like, whatever. So like you say you're getting sick and somebody else has to say they're getting sick, but he actually got COVID. So I was like, oh, you should go to your dad's house so I don't get sick. And so I like made him pack a bag and get all of his stuff out to go to his dad's house. And then as he was leaving, I laid into him about everything that I found out. And I was like, yeah, you're not coming back. So like I was like, and I was thankful, like, my friends at the time, you know, that we had like mutual friends, because we were part of like this car community. And yeah, and he still lives alone, you know, on Staten Island with his dad in the basement where he belongs. So, you know, you act like a troll, you get treated like one. Yeah, exactly. I literally like, because there was a bunch of stuff that he like took out, and then he would stalk like my apartment. He would spoof my phone number. And he basically, not my phone number, but he would call my phone, and he found a way to make it look like other people that I talk to regularly were calling me. So I remember there was like this other guy that, it was like the same week that he had messaged me that this had happened. And he was like, oh, I've always thought you were attractive. And I was like, that's crazy, because like this just blew up, and he like knew my ex, we were together, whatever. Like, this just blew up, you know, this week. Like, that's kind of crazy. And to spill all the tea, like, this guy had ended up staying over, and he came he came to the apartment. My ex-boyfriend came to the apartment with coffee and bagels and was like knocking at the door at like 8 o'clock in the morning. Never been a morning person, by the way. And I was like, okay, here's like a couple other stuff. Cause I was like still trying to be cordial enough to like not have him, like, you know, also growing up in a violent situation. Like when you've been in domestic violence situations before, DV situations like I have, like you become, it's a game that you learn how to play with people like that, right? So I was like, he knows that I don't fuck with him like that, but also like I'm gonna like do what I have to do to still be safe while he's still getting things out of the house. And I just remember like his Cordias is like, oh my, like you had a suitor here, and I was like, a suitor? Like what is this, 1850? Like what? Yes, he was throwing rocks at my window and rode his horse. It's in the garage downstairs. Like a suitor? That was like good. Like after that, I was like, that was nice. That was a good, like revenge was not even served cold. It was still, you know, on the warm setting on the stove. But that was part of my, you know, in the theme of Valentine's Day, and choosing to be with people that you know that you're supposed to be with. That was part of that story. So, you know, I blocked him on everything, and, you know, I haven't talked to him in a long time, but like, and never will. I have no desire to. But it's so funny because like in honesty, and when I say this, Chelsea, it was like, having that level of betrayal, and like immediately when I find out that someone's betrayed me, it's like truly like I have no feeling anymore. Another suitor for the princess, exactly. Like I don't, like once I see someone's true colors, it's like I don't like, I forgot that happened to me, if that makes sense. You know, it's like on to bigger and better things. And obviously, like, I'm very happy, you know, I've been married almost 6 months now. Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, like, I'll never talk to you again. And I have no, like, you know, him, you know, the guy after him that I literally broke up with because I knew my husband was it, you know, when I met up with him again. And, I was like, you know, they're like, how can you just like cut off your emotions like that? You know, and I'm like, because once you like are awake to it, it's like, it's so, I don't know, I have no problem detaching like that. I was like, oh, okay, like you were a mistake, bye. Like, I'm moving this way now, see you later. Like, I have no interest in wasting any more time. And for me, like, I lost a lot of time, but I feel like all of those things, for whatever reason, are just things that I needed to learn in the time that I did, and that's okay. But, you know, so we could tell stories like this and talk about it on the internet at TikTok and YouTube in the afternoon. I guess that was the reason to talk about it now, you know, however many years later, 5 years later. But, you know that you deserve better. And, like, it's just a matter of, like, when somebody will find you, not if somebody will find you. If you want that, you know what I mean? It's like, if you want it, there's no reason that you can't have anything that you want. It's just a matter of, like, it's like, be firm on the goal, but flexible on the path that gets you there. Because my husband and I worked together, you know, 4 years. We've known each other for 8 years. Him and my ex-boyfriend that I talked about with that story actually met each other because on my last day of work at the job that I worked at with my now husband, my now husband and my ex-boyfriend were the only two people that ended up being able to meet at the bar, because it was like January, it was like cold, no one wanted to do anything. And so they actually met, which is so trippy. But like, it's just weird how like life, you know, has red threads. And I, you know, it was like my husband now. I was like, oh, it's just like an objectively attractive person, but he was dating somebody else. Obviously I was too, and I never like thought of him in that way. And then he slid into my DMs again, you know, a couple years later, 6 months after it was the June of July, I broke, that whole thing happened, the story that I just told you guys, and then June is when I reconnected with my husband, and I was like, oh, we met up again July 8th, or July 28th, 27th or 28th sometime, and then we said I love you like the first week of August, and then we've been together ever since. So here we are. That's like when you know, but I wouldn't have been, had I not gone through experiences where like once something happens, I'm a pretty quick learner, like I'm a quick study of things, I wouldn't, if I didn't waste so much time or was like building upon my own self-worth and learning human design and working on my business, like since all those, during that time, I wouldn't have felt as confident committing to my husband, if that makes sense. But I had a lot more self-awareness going into my relationship with my now husband than I did with my ex. So we live to tell the tale. And he's in Aries Venus to my Pisces Venus, so that also plays a role in our synastry. And we're both Aquarius Mercury. So if you have somebody that you're interested in and you want elite communication, if you have the same Mercury sign, obviously it's a little challenging to coordinate that, but like having the same Mercury sign is very helpful, because we communicate and process very similarly. So that's the story. But any other comments, questions, you know, anything you guys want to air and share or talk about in the chat, let me know before I hop off in the last 15 minutes you have me, and we'll go from there. Yeah. And you have to have somebody that is willing to articulate, you know, what they're feeling and know how to put words to what they're feeling. You know, because someone could think that they're communicating, but if they aren't actually able to see the forest through the trees, that's a different story. Un momento. Translate. Oops, wait, hold on. I was trying to translate and I pinned by accident. Yo no sé. Re lo siento. Yeah, so any advice for Cancers this month? So Jupiter is on top of your Jupiter is on top of your sun. I always would look at Pink, like you want to look at your rising sign, because that tells you, like, do you know what your rising sign is? Because that'll tell me what house your sun is in, and that will change my response. Oh, she has Scorpio, Mars, and Mercury. Okay. Yeah, she'll be like, she'll want precise communication and probably sharp with her words too. Yo no sé, hablo un poco español, but yo no sé what you are asking me. So, okay. Hi, Tay. I'm dual streaming on TikTok simultaneously. So if you don't see the chat, you're wondering who I'm talking to, that's who I'm talking to. Scorpio rising. Okay, so let me do, I want to say your no, not your fourth house. Eighth house? No. Scorpio rising chart. Taking a second to load because of all my tech. Oh, Capricorn moon. I'm sorry. So you're like, oh, when you clock the mom tea, I can like that immediately. Or just like not having the support from your family of origin. I'm sorry for the same exact experience that you've also had. Sorry, it's just taking a second. Yeah, I'm trying to get of the chart because I don't remember what, is it ninth house for you? So there's two types of charts that I look at. So when I'm doing like whole sign is always what locks in, like Scorpio is going to be the entirety of your first house in whole sign. Sagittarius is your second, so on and so forth. And so when you use Placidus, it basically changes your chart configuration based on the degree of your rising sign. So that's why some people will be like, wait, like, but I don't, if they have like a late degree rising, most of their rising sign will fall into the 12th house, if I'm thinking about that correctly. Yeah, so Cancer is your 9th, but it feels like intuitively you probably have a lot of your sun that actually in Placidus gets pushed to your 8th house, which would makes things a little bit more spooky. But what I noticed automatically from what you said is that your moon is in direct opposition with your sun. So basically when that happens, it's like a conflict of like you see yourself one way, but it's hard for other people. I also see this with people who have their sun or their moon in opposition with their rising. So it's a hard time connecting the head and the heart. It's like emotionally, like your Cancer, it's like you have soft gooey insides, right? Like it's like you are the crab because like your Capricorn moon has made you pick up on like defense mechanisms that needed to be there, because you're like, if this person who raised me didn't know how to treat me, like why the F is anyone else gonna treat me nice? Like if my mom couldn't be nice to me, like why would anyone else be nice to me? So it's like that energy too. And then you have Jupiter conjunct your sun, which is making you shine brighter. Your sun is also so your rising sign tells us it's basically like the horizon in the sky. So your rising sign is the constellation that was coming up over the eastern horizon at the time you were born. So for you, it's Scorpio rising. So it's the appearance, the intensity of Scorpio, with like, and then when you have your sun that sits above the horizon in Cancer, which is a luminary, it's like you get attention whether you like it or not, even if you're just sitting there, which works really well when you want it to. But it's also like if your moon, again, it sits opposite, so it's under the horizon, you're like, I just really want to be alone right now. Sorry, and it's like you can feel when it happens. It's like if you live in an area where there's a subway and you're like, I'm not feeling it, I just want to get back to my house, like I don't want to talk to anybody, and you're like, you can feel when you walk into the subway, like there's some guy or some creep, or like whoever that's like just won't stop staring. It's like that kind of energy that I can condense it down to. I know my luminaries will understand, very much so. But yeah, it's just like having that kind of balance, but also with Jupiter being there for a while, 9th house things too. Because for you, it's definitely going to be closer in your 9th house. Jupiter is going to be in Leo the second half of this year. And really being able to think about things outside of yourself, if that makes sense. Like 9th house is about like, I would also be curious to know if you like do date outside of your culture. Like for me, because of my Placidus chart, a lot of my Scorpio actually falls in the 9th house. And, with Pisces and Aquarius too, like I've always dated, like my first boyfriend was Turkish. My husband is Cuban, it's like having that differentiation. Okay, there you go. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like just liking things that are like show you another perspective. I think that you, like me, when you have any 9th house personal planet activations, we like novelty. Novelty is a big word. And so when we get bored, it's like, okay, you can't be depressed. We're very emo, us water signs. Like, we're like, oh, the world is ending. Like, I'm like, okay, I just need to be dramatic. And then I need to figure out like what's going to make me excited about life again. And then I'm like, okay, let's go. But it's like, I know like there's, talking to different people, so I've been talking to a lot of you guys, which has been so restorative for my mind and spirit on YouTube that are from different corners of the world, and having cool, like just inquisitive questions, and us being mutually curious about like, what do you eat in your country? What do you do in your country? What's happening over there? Like, I need people that feel like they're expanding my mind, and I don't care about your best friend that you're talking shit about her and her husband to me. Like, deal with it over there. Like, I'm not, what else is happening? Like, let's go to a nice restaurant. Like, let's go eat something, like, good food. Let's watch something interesting. Let's go do something. Like, I'm okay to talk about the deeper levels of life and philosophy and the stars and things like that, but I'm not interested in talking about other people and dissecting them in a way where it's, like, something that's, like, very, that's a very solvable 30-second conversation starter with like your friend that has a problem. Not for us. So yeah, I recommend like anything that, because that too, right? Like it just dialed up even more so. I wouldn't be surprised if you're like randomly woke up during this transit and you're like, I want to become a neurosurgeon, or like there was some like crazy other like side quest that you were like, I want to do this now. This is going to be my new job. I actually want to go back to school. Like, I'm going to open up and my own spa and become an esthetician. Like, that is like that kind of stuff when Jupiter is conjunct your sun. Like, what do you want to be known for? And like legacy, reputation, like those become big things when Jupiter is conjunct your sun. Like, how can you really shine brightly? I also I did a 15-minute meditation about the Leo full moon in Leo that we just had on the 1st, and I think this is very appropriate for you to paint of like, it's safe to be seen. Oh, there you go. Yes, yes, yes. There you go, Deanna. It's safe to be seen. Yeah, and this is, you're probably a generator or manifesting generator if I had to guess, or pink. I don't know why I said pain. You know what I'm thinking of, like Painkiller, because my mind has been in Bravo. I watch like reality TV is like my amazing, for like, if you like to see the real, like how people's transits play out in real time. But Erica Jane, who's on the Real Housewives, Erica, well, she's no longer Girardi. I don't know what she calls herself now. I think just Erica Jane. Has a song called Painkiller, and I was just watching that. I was watching Shahs of Sunset reruns because I'm all caught up on the Valley Persian style, which just like speaks to everything that I was talking about. I love my LA Persians. But yeah, so that's been on my mind. But pink, yeah, I forget where I was going with that because I distracted myself. Oh, but random side quests. Yeah, it's like basically you have to, you can do all of them, but it's like there's a quote about that I was just reminded of the other day where it's like, you can do anything that you want, but you can't do everything that you want. So like, I know that if I really wanted to, I could enroll in school tomorrow and start to go on the path of medical school over the next 10 years of my life to become a neurosurgeon. But I'm like then I think about waking up early and like doing residency and like being covered in blood and like having to rush to the hospital. And I'm like, you know what, that lifestyle, like the money could be good, you know, like getting money in that way, but like, I don't really, that doesn't do anything for me. You know, if I want to be a neurosurgeon versus like a neurologist. But it's like that, I think it's knowing like what kind of, for me, multicultural discussion, spiritual modalities, self-discovery, human psychology, those have always been red threads and things that I'm interested in, and creativity. Like I'm starting to sew again. I bought my mannequin. I just did my measurements yesterday to change my mannequin to my size, like things like that. And then I say, okay, I don't need to sew to make money off of it. Not all of my hobbies have to be profitable. I used to want to be a fashion designer, but I'm fulfilled enough by pursuing that goal. Hi, Redhead. Pursuing that goal without having to monetize that hobby. And that's a big thing to pay attention to as well. I'm sure I'm not, yeah. Hi, Redhead. Okay, so I struggle with school, dropping out all the time due to things. Is it because of my left angle cross? Not necessarily. That left angle cross means, like, if we're just looking at that, it's like the two aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. It's also like real fucking life, you know what I mean? Like, if you had to leave school because of money, like that's just a reality, right? That's not like two things can be true at the same time. Left angle cross we would look at specifically because there's many people that will help gift you with little nuggets of wisdom that really help carry you along. I'm a right angle cross person, so I'm a little bit more it always comes back to what does Brenna need and where does Brenna know that she needs to go? Hi, Shashi. Nice to see you again. Where does Brenna need to go to like get to the next level? But a left angle cross is like, ooh, I know, like most left angle crosses book with me because they're like, okay, I know that Brenna has the next thing or knows where I need to look to do the next thing. And I think, you know, if something comes up, this is your fork in the road, Redhead. You get to decide, I know that I really want to fucking do this. And even though all these other things come up, I have to be firm about setting boundaries and to not letting them distract what I know that I as Redhead need to do. Right? Telling people that are full-grown adults that they can take care of themselves, right? If it's somebody that's like, is it actually a true problem? Or is it a problem created by a certain narcissistic entity in your life that's distracting you from that, right? And I say it's like a narcissistic entity that's like taking away the, what's it called? knowing that you really want to do something for yourself and other people, this anamorphous blob that is your boundaries that you have to set with narcissism. Yeah. I'm also psychic if you couldn't tell. Yeah. So that's your answer. Go to school, get your education, you know? Exactly. Usually it's like, it's the same energy that your life's purpose is to set a boundary with, that just that's taken, you know, multiple forms. And you're not the first woman that has come to me with that problem. They're also big and grown. If you don't have to change their diapers literally, like they're not disabled, it's that, like, we have to be that blunt about it. You know, and just because, even if like you do have to become the primary caretaker, I was for my dad for a little while, and if you do have to, you know, for me as an individual person, I know that I still deserve it. I may not be able to take a full semester's worth of classes, but I can still stay enrolled in an online class to keep my sanity while doing so, right? I would get off the phone, you know, having to talk about a living will for my dad, and then come down here and go on live because I had work to do with my people, you know, or I had a session that I had to do. But compartmentalizing and not letting other people take you away from what you know that you need to do is what's important. Hi, Jefferson. Hi, Leah. So what's compatibility like for left angle cross and right angle cross? In the vein of, like, if I had to, like, neither here nor there. It's not going to make or break your relationship if one person has a right angle cross and one person has a left angle cross. I do find, though, that the right angle cross person should not be insecure about the left angle cross person having multiple different people that they talk to, because they have, you know, lots of different people that do have an impact in their life. A right angle cross person needs to be okay with that. Yeah. It's great. I love married life. I love being married. We didn't go on a honeymoon because we eloped. So we did a destination elopement. We probably will, but we haven't. We were honestly, like, tired from planning. That I was like, I don't feel like I can enjoy a honeymoon right now, if that makes sense. But it was nice because we did our elopement, just my husband and I, and then a month later, almost to the day, we went to like back to the area where both of our families are from, and we celebrated. And it was nice because I was like, because attending a wedding does not even give you like 50% of the perspective of like actually having a wedding. Because of how particular I am too. Like, I knew the flowers I wanted, like my dress, like I had it altered, like I had to go for alterations 3 times. Like, I knew everything that I wanted. And it's not about, like, we are both the same way, where it's like we come from, you know, he's the only son of an immigrant family. I'm the oldest daughter of a complex family. And so it wasn't really about anybody else. And I didn't, you know, I wasn't worried about disappointing people not being able to see us get married, you know? So it's like, for me, it was a little bit more of a different experience. I have amazing in-laws and sisters-in-laws who are amazing. You know, and put in a lot of effort for my bridal shower and my bachelorette. We did like it back to back, but yeah, I'll make a video at some point about it all. But thank you for asking. And yeah, redhead, that's a problem. I had to cut my own mother off. Exactly. And listen, once you do that, everybody else is easier. Yeah, I'm a single, deaf RIX. He's a split LAX. Yeah, because he'll just need more people. Like, Leah, you like to connect with people because you enjoy it. He's almost like forced into it. In a way, like it feels less like I would also look at your ego motivation center. Hi, JJ. Thank you. But I think you know, compatibility is like I can almost tell you more intuitively. I think that being like, for you, like, Leah, you're so multi-talented, conventionally attractive, and interesting that, like, is he okay with other people? Like, yeah, you're always gonna be attractive, and other people are always gonna think that you're attractive. Is he somebody that's okay with that? Right? So, you know, and not insecure. I was thinking it was me because I was supposed to go to school. Now I know it's my HD. Yeah, it's like, I think, again, 2 things can be true at the same time. Like, I don't want you to, I err on the side of caution, redhead, with putting all of your weight in your life being predestined for you and not allowing you to understand that you still have free will to make decisions for yourself. It's also just a truth from what you said. It's the heart center, the tiny but mighty little triangle, to see if it's defined or undefined. And the G center, that has a lot to do with self-worth too. And how experienced people are in those areas. That also affects compatibility in that way. Ariana Grande has a completely open G center. That's why she has been 18 different relations, creeds, ethnicities, whatever. Like, she becomes who she's with. Yeah. Both of them. Oh, for you, both of them were defined. Yes. Yeah, that was for Leah. But for you, Redhead, like remember that, like, you still have free will. Like, we're all big adults that can make decisions in addition with using it as a tool. It's like technology. Spirituality is a tool that you can use, but not just a tool that uses you, right? You are in control, hi Jaden, of what you do with that information. Right? But it's like the how many people do we find so insufferable because they're like, it's just because I'm a Gemini. No, you're actually just being a bitch. Like, you know what I mean? Like, those kinds of situations, right, that get us into trouble. And then Deanna and Chelsea, that are beautiful Geminis, get the bad rap, right? Like, it's using that level of like, yeah, two things can be true. And that I think that for you, that just tells me, Redhead, that you have the desire to go back to school and stay in school. And especially as a self-motivated person, it's like no one else should be getting in the way. It's like, okay, nails in the coffin. Like, they made their bed, they can lie in it. I don't know how old your son is, but it gives me an indicator that there's still some contact that has to happen, probably for some custody reasons, or just being cordial. If your son's graduating, I don't know your specific situation, but like, you're allowed to, don't let him know that you're in school. Oh, he's 3, so a little bit younger than graduation. Yes, but yeah. So bye, Deanna. Yes, I'll see you soon. I'm gonna hop off in a minute myself. But yeah, that, it's there's certain people that it's okay to not let them know your next move. And if you're in that sort of situation with co-parenting, it's like, this is important to me and I need to go do this thing. So, I think that you have to kind of like really look at the cards that you're dealt with him and co-parenting and whatever it is that you need to do. And honestly, it's like, now your son is involved. So what example do you want to speak or show for him? I can't speak Russian, no. I have Russian DNA, but I can't speak Russian. But yeah, so let me know if you guys, Leah, before I hop off, Leah, Redhead, any of you guys that are still here, if you have any other questions. I love that. That's so cool. I don't know why it filtered you, but there we go. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's just like yeah. Your son is, your 3-year-old is the 3-5, or the father is the 3-5. Wow. Love to you too. Thank you. Your ex. Okay. Yeah. It's like a generator, like generators, you can get stuck. Yeah. His internal is your external. Generators that are miserable anyone that's miserable is insufferable to be around, but like generators can get stuck in their own kind of personal loop of like, it's similar to like what looks like in a Taurus or a Scorpio when they're like obsessing over something. It's like foaming at the mouth. It sounds so bad, but like that's what I think about. It's like becomes an healthy obsession with not being able to acknowledge the pivot that's in front of them. I think that you have to acknowledge that, like, it's like let go or be dragged sort of thing. Like, either like you make the change and you make the pivot even if you don't like it, or like, yeah. And Redhead, I don't know if you were on while I was saying this, but I was saying how a lot of men in relationships that are straight, in a heteronormative dynamic, do not learn until they know that you're serious about, like you said, a boundary, you're not going back. So, it's like that is the type of person that it feels like you're dealing with. Yeah, we have 8-1 compatibility, both open solar plexus. Our conflicts are super emotional. Yeah. it almost feels like fighting for the spotlight a little bit. I don't know. I also question like drama for the sake of drama's sake. You know, like, is it like, why are we really fighting about this? You know what I mean? Like being too adult. Yeah. And like, I feel like both of yours do, right? Like, again, I think a big part of like, if I had to channel anything for all you guys, the two things can be true at the same time, right? Like, I was saying that to my aunt about my mom. My mom has OCD, which changes the way that she thinks, but she's also very mean to me. Like, you know, so it's like, okay, like she could have OCD, but that also doesn't give her, like, she's functional enough to know that like there are certain things you don't say, right? Yeah. Water signs. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And I think like it ultimately it's like, what do you want out of your romantic partnership? Like, you know, it's there. I know that like growing up in a house with so much conflict that like I'm not interested in that personally. Like, been there, done that, exhausted. I'm 32. I'm a Pisces that feels 97, you know, because of some of the like the lore of my life, Scorpio moon. So, you know, if you know, you know. And so I was not interested in that. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's like, if you can come back to, because what it sounds like is just like emotional conflict resolution is your struggle. If you can come back to understanding and maybe using this vocabulary with him, that it's the two of you against the problem, excuse me, instead of the two of you against each other, that's a really cathartic place to operate from. You know, like, I think that, and it's interesting because I also know, I think your dad is the same big three as me, right? Because I was like, I remember saying to you on a live a couple years ago, like, am I your dad? And so my office was still upstairs, which is going on almost 2 years that my office has been done down here. But yeah, so I wonder, like, what are some of those patterns that are kind of being repeated in some way? Yeah. Yeah. I said the benefits of the Scorpio moon. I don't forget. Thank you, Marco. But I would encourage you to kind of think about like what part of that is enjoyable to you. Yeah. And I think it's probably like it just feels like two big personalities coming together, right? So two big personalities, two people that, oh, there you go. I'm a Pisces Sun, Scorpio moon, Aquarius rising. So we're yin and yang. Yeah, you just got to beef up your boundaries, girl. Like, I know that I want this and I know that what you're doing to pull me out of this is silly, but it's like people like that you have to be okay with lying through omission. If it's somebody that doesn't have, like, you really need to look at this person and say, like, I know I see your potential in being able to understand me because you're an adult that like works a job and functions like an adult, or at least tries to. But are you really dealing with somebody who's a 7-year-old in a 75-year-old's body, you know, or whatever, like, age? It's like someone that's like mentally 14. Like, you have to find a balance of understanding how you want the relationship to go, but also being realistic in who you're dealing with and where you're at right now. You know, in a Libra rising, like, don't keep yourself sick in order to keep the peace. You know, you're the scales, like, looking at things objectively. They're probably, I can imagine, probably mad because, like, there's a version of you that was hyper emotional and now you can't be emotional because it's like, it's data and facts. Your sun is 3. There are certain things that if you're co-parenting that have to get done. And honestly, if you have to get the court involved, if it's not already, sometimes this is what has to happen just for safety, you know? Of course, I can't give actual legal advice. I just have to say that, entertainment purposes only, but like, with those placements, we're intuitive a lot, and like, you know, yeah. It's like, it's written down, it's in the plan, and it's like, cut it. Visualize a giant pair of scissors that people use at ribbon cutting, and the second he tries to suck you back in, just think about cutting it off. And yes, the scissors need to be that large. Yeah, I feel like he's thrown empathy out the window because feeling for others is a burden while I'm choosing not to get reactive because of them. Interesting how some open centers act differently. Yeah, it's nature versus nurture, right? Like, you could have the exact same charts. I've read for 2 sets of twins before. They have the same exact charts, born 3 minutes apart, and their expressions based on their lived life experiences are completely different, right? So it's like, you can have somebody that has such similar placements, but it's like, depending on their cultural, environmental upbringing, you know, like experiences that they've been through. You know, but I think that you have too much to offer. And honestly, I feel like like, I think your dad works for the UN, right? So it's like when you're raised by, hi, Bren, somebody that is literally about like radical empathy and community, you know, whatever the term is, getting alongness in a very eloquent way. Like your dad, it's like if empathy is thrown out the window in conversation, then you're dealing with, in the words of Sabrina Carpenter's song, man-child, you know? But like if you can't have respect, the second respect goes out the window in a relationship, I don't care if you're my partner or, yeah, I mean, listen, there's a lot of things that we could say, but just because certain structures in place may be true, two things can be true, or like that doesn't mean that your dad isn't a person that has good intentions being in that industry. So it's like, yeah, if you want to be like not look at nuance and just think that like because you read a couple things online that you know the ins and outs of the world, like okay, like, you know, but it just feels like from what you're sharing like very immature. And look out for performative spirituality, right? I will say that some of the people that overlap in this area of work that you and I both know have tendencies to operate out of ego in the spiritual capacity. That's why I'm not on those lives. You know, nice enough, but again, a broken clock is right 2 times a day. So I also just know from observational Scorpio moon you know, that like I can see where as a water sign it's like I want so badly that from this community or this type of person, but that doesn't mean that I'm gonna get it. Just because people, you know, claim self-awareness doesn't mean that they're self-aware. Yeah, define head and ajna. And I'm so open. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like just because I know that that's true for you as a person. And that's, I think, a good kind of like assessment too, right? Like someone could be really hard-headed and we know that if they're defined, they're going to see the world through that lens. My first boyfriend was like that too. Turkish, actually interned at the UN. I dropped him off there a couple times when we were both in college. And he has a defined head and ajna is a projector, and I was like, I remember me having an undefined ajna and head and crown head, and like having to process what he said because it was so, yes, exactly, it was so, right now you're collecting all the opinions, and then you get to decide what ones are true for Leah, right? So all of those, he said to me as a defined head person that he was like, oh, well, you had to go and build a case against me to figure out what you had to say and what you thought about it. And I'm like, no, I just didn't immediately feel like I could articulate the way that I felt about it. So I took a second to get clarity and came here. Just because I wasn't able to clearly state what I felt like doesn't mean that I had to go back and build a case against you. Also, us against the problem, like, why are we fighting like this? You know what I mean? Like, you can get up and be a diplomat in front of the UN, but you can't be diplomatic with your girlfriend. Like, fuck off. Like, that's why I'm not married to him. So, you know, like that kind of energy. Good, Bren. That's awesome. Yeah, justice prevails. But yeah, Leah, so I also would just kind of encourage you to think about it that way as well. Gather your opinions and, yeah. Why do defined heads and ajnas think undefined are stupid? Because they don't know how to be, like, their default is not open-mindedness. It's how do other people fit into my worldview and my world lens? And if they grow, they realize, like my ex did 10 years later, that he was wrong about me. Because a lot of other people that they met, that they exposed themselves to, you know, he realized like, oh, you know, and that's just life experience. Like we were young, like 21 and 22, you know, so it's like there was a lot more life that we were like baby adults at that point in time. But, you know, I find that like there is a couple people that have been in the human design space that have defined ajnas and heads that have like come across my path. More so defined ajnas with open heads because I just don't tolerate that like behavior. Yeah. and again, it's like two things to be true. Like you, and I think like, again, heteronormative relationship dynamic, women are external processors. Generally straight men do not need or do not indulge or care to have that level of external processing. But if he's your partner that truly is going to be in a partnership with you, he should understand that that's what you need to feel loved and appreciated and cared for. So, you know, even if like the head is defined, doesn't mean that like he's always going to be written off, but like if you have like good conflict resolution, and he's capable of not like, I think there are times when you can agree to disagree, but I would try to understand how many times that feels like an unjust compromise or an unrealistic compromise too. Just be careful and cautious of like compromising yourself for the sake of somebody else, you know? And what that looks like. So, you know, again, a lot of big emotions, a lot of processing for you. And if you have to ask, you probably already know the answer. That's intuitive sake, you know? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think that there's a lot of people that come into our life as like the right idea, but the wrong execution. And we have to be willing to cut the dangling carrot in the pursuit of being brave enough to know that we deserve better. Like, you know, I'm 32 this year, and when I met my husband, I was not interested in, and friendships too, after my Saturn return especially, I was like, I'm not interested in teaching people how to treat me. I wasn't taught to critically think, be considerate and respectful. Like I was, right? But like not to the level, like I had to teach myself that through my relationships. So, you know, for me, I expect if anyone is close to me in my personal life, I expect that same level of person to meet me there. I'm not interested in teaching, you know, that's what I teach for work. I don't want to teach in my personal life once, you know, in order to have balance, and I want to hang out with my friends. I want it to feel mutually beneficial and reciprocal. You know, everyone has different problems at different times, but like just the level of like, I don't want to have to explain to somebody like why I don't text all the time. Because if you read my energy, you know that I'm not somebody that enjoys like that in my friendship, you know, and that's different from like, you know, like making the effort to plan to meet people where they're at. So hi Maiden's Vibe, hello and goodbye. I'm gonna sign off. I am going to enjoy Valentine's Day with my husband. So my food for thought on Valentine's Day. I'm gonna say goodbye to YouTube, Jaden, everybody. It was nice to see you guys. I'll be back on a regularly scheduled programming in vertical format on Monday at 1 p.m. So love to all you guys. Jaden, I hope you are studying well. I'll see you guys later. And I will